I'm going to say that again, I'm sorry, because I had Greg on mute. So we're going to officially call this meeting to order. It is July 16th, 2020 at 7:03 p.m. I will announce who is here. Myself, Christine Kelly, President. Jane Roosevelt, Vice President. Gail Perry, Secretary. And Greg McNeil, Director. Greg, if you could just confirm via the phone. Thank you. And Brian Carlton is not in attendance right now. Others present include Daryl Bartlebauer, our Property Manager with Associa. And what we need to do next, approval for our agenda. So we have a quorum. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve our meeting minutes from February 8th.
The meeting minutes from the prior annual and organizational meeting dated February 11th, 2019 have been forwarded to the board and approved.
Today's agenda. The approval of today's agenda.
Approved.
New business. So first order of business is the clubhouse windows and doors. Gail, if you could just let those in attendance know what the project is.
I'd be happy to. So these windows and doors evidently are original and they're not hurricane impact. And there was a study done, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Susan, in 2016, a company came in and gave average lifespan of things in a list, and the clubhouse, the HVAC, and the parking lot resurfacing are due this year. So I got 6 or 7 bids for PGT windows, parking impact, and 4 new doors. And we chose, I narrowed it down to 3, we chose BNT. And we're going to go with that.
Oh, is that official? We're
No.
not voting on that.
No,
Oh, okay.
we did.
So B&T, if we, by setting a motion to approve, so we move forward with the installation. By doing it by tomorrow, we get an $800 rebate credit on the entire project.
And how much will it cost? Total?
15,871.44 with an $800 rebate, $700.
So you're gonna need the assessment.
No,
Where's it $15,000?
General fund, operating fund, correct, Darrell?
Well, it's good.
I don't think so. That wasn't in the budget.
No, but remember this
So
kind of
assessment.
insurance and
no,
all the rest of it.
It wasn't in the budget?
Can I just ask you, so then, are you also planning to replace the windows in the storage rooms?
I can't.
Storage room windows? Storage room windows,
No,
also original?
yeah, not included in this
Not
round.
included in this project.
Can we wait till the end?
Okay.
Well, it's all right. This is the first meeting, be kind. Are we supposed to have open forum now as we're doing this or at the end?
Normally have a discussion before you vote.
Yeah.
We have had a discussion as before, and we'll move forward.
You have, but
Yes.
with us, we're allowed to speak
Yes.
before you vote.
Sure. So then that's a yes. Okay. So yes, you can ask the question.
So,
Feel free.
No, that's it? Okay. I was thinking that since we're not gonna be able to use this clubhouse as a group until the virus is passed, right? Am I right? We're not gonna be able to use the clubhouse as a group.
As a large group, small group.
You can have one or two come in, and, you know.
You
with
can
the
do the groups
groups,
less
right?
than 10.
We
or
could use
recommend.
the elevators redone quicker than this clubhouse, which may not be usable until November. We don't know that yet, do we? We don't know how long this virus is gonna last, and we know that you can't congregate more than one or two people at a time.
10.
So why don't we fix the inside of the elevators that we use every single day?
It's on an agenda item for future projects. There's a lot more.
Yeah, I know,
going on.
future, but this, we can't even use this. You're gonna fix this place up, what are we gonna do?
It is we have hurricane season coming, and
I can't understand what
I know, but I have to wear it.
You
Sorry.
have to,
Yeah, they did ask. So, there's strong possibility in a hurricane season that any
Okay, I
of those
just want to
doors.
express my opinion.
No, absolutely, understood.
Because I
Point
know
taken.
it's a lovely clubhouse, but we cannot use it until the virus is over.
Yeah, it can be used.
Can't do anything.
But
You can have a meeting.
up to 10, groups of 10.
Pardon?
Groups of 10.
But I'm saying, who 10 are gonna come in here?
Well, I don't know, that's up to.
Sounds anybody that would like,
We-
I would like to have, I could have a
I
party.
think the elevators, inside the elevators are more important than, right now, than this clubhouse that we can't use that much of. The elevator inside, and I went across the street, and it cost about 10 grand an elevator. I wanna say thank you for fixing elevators, you don't hear the noise, they run beautifully, they do.
Thing
But
with,
the inside of the
your
elevator.
guys' elevators, you only have smaller, not large amount in the reserves, only for modernizing the elevators. And like this repair that is gonna be done, you guys are going over your elevator repair for the year at the regular operating budget.
Okay, in other
Well, that
words,
line
not in the
item.
budget, okay. I just wanted to ask, I thought it would be something that would be more useful than fixing this clubhouse right now, that we can't use.
Also adds to property value.
I mean, you can't have a party,
You
you
could,
Up to
yes, you
10.
can, you can have 10 people, up to 10 people.
10 people you can have.
Who's gonna have a party system?
I don't know, I mean, you can
Listen,
have
do-
10 people
we-
for
we like to make
bingo.
this
I'm
useful.
suggesting something that we use every single day, the elevators.
Yes.
I know the people in the ground floor don't have it, but we need them, second and third floor. I would think that fixing the elevators is more important than this room is.
Your point is taken. I understand where you're coming from.
Whatever,
All right.
I'd like to say something.
Sure thing, Eddie.
The windows in here aren't hurricane, I agree, but they've lasted 46 years without a leak or a break. And, I guess we're lucky but they have lasted. And to do it now, if we have the money, that's one thing. But as far as I know, there isn't that kind of money in our budget. And to Cam's point, the elevators, that was also in that same study that was done about the reserves, and the elevators have passed their useful life, and to upgrade them is probably a couple $100,000 if we did both of
It's
them.
10 grand an elevator.
No, a couple
No.
$100,000.
No, I didn't mean to redo the whole
You
mechanism.
have to, if you're going
Oh,
to do
yeah.
anything, you're gonna have to
Can't
upgrade.
upgrade.
You have to do so it has,
Mechanics
any choices.
also?
You can't just do make it prettier without
You have to-
making it,
you
it
have
has
to
to
bring out the
have,
code.
it has to have the fix and come up to code. Then you can add to the pretty. You just can't, decide to change the inside look. As much as
Yeah.
it would be lovely, but
The other thing about doing these windows is you're gonna have to get a permit, right?
right, which is
And
included.
and when they come in here and look at our kitchen, they're gonna say, this is not up to code.
Okay.
So you're potentially gonna lose the stoves that are in the kitchen.
Okay. Which they're not, I know that the stove to the refrigerator isn't ADA compliant.
That's not the point.
Yeah, I understand.
You're not allowed to
Fine.
have stoves in here without an external exhaust.
Okay.
And we've gotten away with it for years because we haven't had any permitted work done in here that allowed the inspector to come in and see
Oh, I
that.
hear what you're saying.
So,
In other words, if
But it's
they
really not
fix this-
supposed to be there, is the point though, correct?
the stoves,
Yeah,
well, supposed to be, I don't know how to define
yeah.
that. They've been there again for
Do we need
46
this to
years.
be inspected to fix the windows and everything?
Yes.
Of course. Oh, okay. You
Yeah,
said
because
that.
it's for,
Well, the inspector may come in the kitchen and say it's not correct. Is that what you mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Do we take that into consideration?
I hear what you're saying, Eddie, about the, 46 years it's lasted, 46.
At least,
Right, but I don't think we can keep running on the premise that because it's lasted, it's gonna continue to last. And when will we have the money? Because in this budget, there's not much money for anything. And we have a lot that needs to be addressed.
that's
And
what I'm
this-
saying, you know,
This
maybe
is
we
one of
should
the things,
pick and choose what we're gonna be doing. The things that have to be done are one thing.
right?
The things that we'd like to do are something else. And you're gonna open a can of worms if you get an inspector in here. I can almost guarantee it. The same way with the parking lot. If you're resurfacing the parking lot, are you just painting it again? Or are you
resealing
gonna,
it.
you're just gonna reseal it? Then you might get away with it, but the drainage out there is gonna be a problem if we ever go to resurface the parking lot. Because the drainage right now goes into the intercoastal, and that will not be allowed by the town.
Okay, so my next question is, do we never resurface the parking lot because we have the potential of a future problem? We can't do that
You budget for it.
if you,
You let everybody know that you're gonna have to pay $100,000 for a new parking lot, and you budget for it.
but it's not ready to be it's ready to be
reseal.
resealed. Resurfacing wasn't on for what? How many more years? It wasn't called to be,
You have remaining, 12 years remaining for resurfacing.
right,
And that's per who?
That's your reserve study.
That's for your reserve
for
schedule.
study.
The asphalt sealant is due this year.
We have, every year almost, we have cave-ins along the back parking
I
lot.
can't hear you well.
You have what?
Cave-ins, where
Oh,
the
yeah, like where you get
sinkholes.
sinkholes.
Right.
Wow.
Every year, and if you look at the back parking lot, it's all pockmarked. The ceiling or painting it is not gonna do any good, but, you know, again, that's,
Well, I mean, you don't know where you're gonna have sinkholes, right? So I mean, do you know what I mean? It's like, how else would you know that? But if you'd have to tear up the whole parking lot, maybe you'd find you're gonna have.
the sinkholes are caused by the drainage. You know where the drainage is, so you know where the sinkholes occur.
Well, maybe that's something you guys should add to your reserve schedule, is the drainage for the parking lots or something. I mean, that's why.
Can you repeat that, Ed?
No, I'm saying if they think that the drainage for the parking lots is gonna be a problem that you need to fund for, then maybe it should be added to the reserve schedule.
Our reserve study nicely said that those things should be looked at, but they weren't included in the study. So,
So
some
there were
were,
recommendations or something, right?
they were recommendations. Right?
Well, I think that we, ready to pull the plug on, I need to, pull the trigger on it. So, we're gonna go ahead and,
You don't want to upset head words, like having somebody come in. I don't blame them.
That's what I'm saying, you know.
And these people in that permit place.
Even resurfacing it requires a permit.
Right.
And last time we had the permit, it was really a can of worms, even down to the point where the lines were 6 inches too small in certain places and it had to be redone. So, you know, it's not an easy task.
I'm just confused. I hear what you're saying, but how long do we keep putting things off because there may be problems? Because
Until you have the money to do it right.
we never have the money to do it right.
If you reserve for it or you put it in the budget, then yes, you will have the money.
Well, in this budget for this year, we only have $28,000 in reserve.
Is this
I'm
gentleman
not
from
talking about the
Grand
reserves.
County? Yeah.
Yes, that's what you're adding into your reserves for this year. That's what you guys voted on in your partials for your 2020.
But the parking lot, I don't think was $28,000 in the reserves. I don't think the windows were $28,000 in the reserves. I don't think anything we had was $28,000 in the reserves. The reserves that we have is for the painting and for the roof and for,
I'm looking at everything you have in your reserves right here.
okay, and there should be like 6 things.
Well, you got a lot more than 6 things on here.
Not in our reserve, you know.
Yes, you do.
That wasn't the reserve that was approved by the board.
You guys are paying into the partials.
Exactly.
So you're funding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're funding 6 things. You have
Exactly.
more than 6 things on your reserve schedule.
Not on our approved reserves.
On your partials this year, you're funding 6.
Exactly.
But on your whole reserve schedule, you have more than 6 items.
And the whole reserve schedule was not approved by the membership.
That doesn't make sense.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense? What doesn't make sense about it? They voted not to fund the full reserve.
I understand that part.
Okay,
You're paying into the reserves for the items that you're funding this year, 28,000.
right.
So that's what you're paying into.
The other items are not funded and are not considered part of our current reserves.
Yeah, but the thing is you have to look where your remaining useful life is, and just because you guys aren't funding like, I don't know, whatever, I don't know where you guys decided on which 6 to fund this year.
It's the same 6 that we've been funding for the past 10 years or more.
Yeah, but you guys are not funding things that you should be.
In your opinion, not in our membership's opinion.
Well, I'm not gonna argue,
I'm not gonna argue either, I'm just telling you.
bringing stuff
He's
to
just
what I'm reading.
explaining something.
I'm trying to explain something. But if you say that we have those reserves, fine. I don't think the membership is gonna be very happy about it, but.
You have these items that are due this year.
But they're not in the approved reserve list.
You're not funding in this year.
And they're not approved by the membership. That's the reason we're not funding them, is because they were not approved
So
by
what are
the
you
membership.
what are you supposed to do with all the ones that have zeros that are due now?
Nothing.
We don't have to make a decision like this, we don't have to have owner's approval or vote because they voted us on to make these decisions.
No.
Just like,
And right here it
We
says your
trusted you to make
HVAC
these
clubhouse
decisions.
replacement is this year. I mean, you obviously aren't gonna
It's
fund
not-
all these items.
It wasn't funded, was it?
No, but you have enough money in there for what it's due for this year, where it's done.
The money that is in our reserves currently is for specific items. It's not a pool that you can use for anything you want.
Right.
It's specific items. And the items are the items that were approved and that are funded.
Correct.
You
But we're
can't
not
use them
using-
for anything else.
But we're not using reserve funds.
Where are you getting the money is my
We
question.
have the money in the,
You have the money where? It wasn't in the budget. So how could you have the
it
money?
wasn't planned in the budget, but that doesn't mean that we can't have projects.
If you have projects, you're gonna have to assess.
We'll do an assessment.
Well, maybe not. The way it was structured before with the 10 payments to the insurance company.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
The way it was structured before, the insurance expects $10,000 or $8,000 a month, right? Until the
Correct.
note is paid in April.
Correct.
However, it's paid up in February. So your month of March is always a gift.
Yes.
That $8,000 is just in there for whatever you want to use it for. That's why we're finding some money, because we have fat in the budget every year off building materials, maintenance materials, the insurance. That's the way the loan is structured for 10 months. The budget doesn't know that, but that's the way it's structured.
And it doesn't come out of the reserves.
Right. So that's probably where you're seeing 8,000 or 9,000 at least is your March payment that you didn't have to make. But the budget doesn't know that because the budget's structured for 12 payments.
I understand reserve funds have to be only used on what was specified and accepted. But we're not using reserve funds for these three items that we are voting on today.
Great. Cool.
As long as you don't use it, $5,000 out of reserves for the air conditioner, that's fine.
Correct.
Get it from someplace else.
Is the air conditioner on the reserve list?
Yes, it is.
I know it's on the
On the
list.
unfunded reserve.
But it's
But
unfunded.
it's un-
Eddie has pointed out that it is unfunded.
It's
This
So
unfunded.
year.
therefore,
Right, it's unfunded.
It's unfunded this year, but you have your, what is it? The replacement cost is six thousand, or 6,100, and you have funded 6,100. So you didn't need to fund the air conditioning for this year, because it's already been funded.
From
And the money
where?
that's in there.
From where? It never got funded. It was never a reserve. It was never an approved reserve item.
Okay, as far as the clubhouse, I make a motion to approve this project.
second.
Jane? Herb?
Motion approved.
Motion approved. So-
And that money's coming from the general fund, not from the reserves.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
We can't, I understand reserves can only be used for what you specified in the budget. That I understand. But none of these items are coming from the reserves. So, we could see the next one.
You have to, you can't take all of them out.
We need to go to this.
Can you say that again, Janet?
I don't know, maybe we need to, I don't know what this looks like, this whole.
Cheryl, can you repeat what you just said about the last thing?
And so we're not gonna be able to cover all three of these items out of the operating.
Not what we discussed the other day, but okay. So,
Well, no, I was playing because you have funding already in your reserves for some of these items. Like the clubhouse HVAC, which is on a 0 remaining life, which is this year. And you already have money in it because of what you've already funded.
See, this is what he's talking about.
Now, I know he's talking about what you guys are paying for this year, partial funds.
Right,
But you can decide each year what you want to fund for your partial funds.
and
But if you have the replacement cost, and you also have, let me see.
So they did the roof,
The roof, the parking lot, painting, and what was the other?
I think Kathy put
The
in some
roof, the
plants.
steel coating, the laundry machines, the pool furniture, the landscaping refurbishing, and pool resurfacing. Existing.
a pool resurfacing.
Was that a couple of years ago, the resurfacing?
No, remember when we did the pool? So
Yeah.
that was the time to start the reserve, because it reset at 0.
Oh, okay.
So that's why Kathy put that in the budget, because it made sense. It's a few dollars every year, and then when it's over, when you need it, you've got it.
Right.
But
And that's at 11 years, that's 11 years away.
Whatever
It did.
it is, whatever it is.
But the HVAC has never been in the reserve budget that was approved. HVAC for the clubhouse was always taken out of the general fund.
Okay.
For replacement,
Yes,
Uh-huh.
then why do you have it listed in your reserve item?
I don't have it listed in the approved reserves. It's
But
not,
it's listed on your reserve schedule.
that's,
because it came out of the reserve study.
right.
Now, you know, it's supposed to be more than $10,000 in replacement or repair. But the reserve study went all the way down to things that only cost a couple $1,000s to do a complete picture. And so that's why it's listed, but it was never spent.
So what's a reserve study?
That's
There
where,
is a company that comes around and they look at every single thing. If it costs more than $10,000 to replace it or repair it, it's supposed to be on the reserve page.
full reserve.
So,
That's considered full
full
reserve.
reserve, exactly. So $10,000 would be the roof, the mansard, the pool, all the windows, all the doors. They gave us a laundry list of things. But this company went beyond it and did the things that were less than 10,000, like the HVAC thing for $5 or $6 grand.
Right.
And then out of that, you have to present to everyone what all of this costs, and then you cherry pick out what you think is important and present that to the membership. And that's what we did the last couple of years.
Right.
When 73% said, we'll take the lower rate.
Right. That was that form that we all filled out.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
That's it. So yes, it's on the list, but so is everything all the way down to, I think, $2,500.
Okay. Okay.
Well, all right, let's move on to the next item. This is the, we approve that. Okay.
So are we,
Approving the clubhouse.
Okay.
So you voted and approved,
Yeah, they did.
doing the windows?
Yep, new windows, new doors.
Greg too?
What?
Greg voted also?
The three of us
See, you
voted.
can- Hold on, Greg is on the phone.
There only need 3 anyway.
I know,
Well, that's-
They dropped off, that's what happened. We'll call that.
Well, out of the 5 of us, 3 approved, and even if 2 say no,
But we can have it though.
right? I mean, yeah, we can have it vote, but
that's the only thing, is you should have in the minutes that you voted and the 3 approved and whatever Greg does and whatever
Yeah.
Brian does. Brian
Well,
wasn't
he
here.
wasn't here, so it doesn't count.
Greg was on, but dropped out.
I'm trying to call
so does that mean if the 3 of us approve, it doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, it's good, yeah, that means if you win.
The other two don't matter one way or another.
But
As long
it
as-
should be recorded.
Well,
Yes.
if it's part of the meeting, then yeah, like how he votes really wouldn't hurt to have like 3 yes and 1 no, or 4
Yeah.
yes and whatever.
So
just
for
to
the
be clear.
record, we have 3 yes. Unfortunately, Greg and Trish have dropped off into a place, so
They're probably in Georgia.
they're in between Florida and Georgia. So like 2 not present.
Yuli.
Lorraine,
I think we'll be able to see some of this food service.
Is that how we are supposed to do this?
yeah, you're doing great, exactly.
Really?
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
I didn't hear you.
Jen asked me a question and I answered her. It's okay.
So we just voted on this.
So that was inclusive of the clubhouse, the HVAC, and parking lot.
I don't think you can do that. You need to vote on each one of
Each
those.
one? Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, the HVAC, you don't have that money coming out of reserves. So you gotta take that money out of the general fund if you have it.
There are ways to.
The same way with the windows, they have to come out of the general fund also.
Out of the general fund,
Yeah.
not the clubhouse fund?
Yeah, the clubhouse is fine, but there's not a reserve for the clubhouse.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There's a line item in the budget.
I was looking at
Okay.
the line that you guys have listed.
Maybe we need to go through this again, all the finances.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying. It's what we started.
Okay, he thought it was interesting.
Where's the funding?
I'll bet he thought it was
Partially
cool.
funded. Here's what they're funding.
Exactly.
Fucking take this for you.
Exactly.
What I'm saying is, this balance here, I thought was what you guys have. Or whatever. Three of those apparently, it's here.
We didn't choose to fund any of these
Is
things.
this here where it says the existing funded in 2019 only?
Excuse me, is Gonzalez still the accountant?
Who? No, associate is.
No, associate, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this paper, it says existing funds as of December 31st, 2019, for the roof, there's 72,000.
Could be.
Yeah, but you need.
We haven't done
But
the
those
roof for a long
funds were
time.
earmarked for specific items. And they've been reserved for specific items.
Every year you reserve for the same items.
Pretty much, yeah. And there's two different kinds of reserves. There's one,
Partial?
no, well, partial and full, but there's also a pool reserve where you can use the money for anything.
And then
There's
specific.
specific reserves, and we have always done the specific reserves. So if it was $5,000 in the fund, and we had $1,000 for parking lot, that's what it was, $1,000 for parking lot. Even though there's $5,000 in there, you can only use that $1,000.
Right.
Supposed to only be able to use that $1,000.
Okay, so we'll,
Well, you
we have to accept for those ones. Right? Okay.
Regardless, see the situation we're in with the clubhouse HVAC. Has reached.
Yeah, that I think we have to do.
It's reached the end of its life. We've had people come in and look at that, so I need a motion to approve.
Yeah, I second that.
I think
Can I ask Susan another question?
I thought that,
Motion for.
The generator in there,
Yeah,
what's the story? Is that gas, is that diesel, is it, what is it?
yeah.
It's gas,
Yes.
and it's not owned by the condo. It
No,
was
it's just
bought
a
by-
private one. A couple of us bought it.
And it was bought by a few of us to be used in the condo, in here, if
In
there
the
was an
clubhouse, to
emergency.
run like a refrigerator. Yeah.
Right.
Does it need maintenance? Like, does it need to have the gasoline taken out, all that
No,
stuff?
you don't need to worry about that.
Once a year, we used to have, the guy from Sears come over and maintain it.
From Sears?
Sears.
Okay.
And the gasoline that's down in the pit, I used to swap it out once a year, but I haven't done it this year.
Oh, okay, so what's the gasoline in
that's
the
in the
pit?
steps.
That's for the generator and for storm or
For
whatever.
this generator?
Right.
So
Okay.
you wanna shut
So
one.
if I call Sears, they can send somebody out to
Yes.
maintain it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there might be a,
Is Sears still in business?
I think so,
Oh, okay.
but that's why I say,
It's not gonna be possible.
not sure.
Okay.
Because what I can do is we can chill it for another agenda item.
I mean, so
Do you wanna put the parking lot
Yeah, we
resurfacing?
Based on what you're
Sorry?
saying.
Will you like this?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then we'll
Oh, my
discuss
God.
that again.
Absolutely, I feel sure we were bumbling around running into each other. It's a learning curve.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're gonna put the parking lot resurfacing on hold so we can.
To have a next agenda
Discuss this
item to
further.
rediscuss this with the socio.
We're gonna do the clubhouse and
So we can table this one.
We're gonna table parking lot resurfacing.
And I think you had a, budget line item for clubhouse maintenance, and that may be able to be used for the air conditioner.
Yeah, wouldn't it? It's all part of the general fund.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
so that's a budgeted line
So
item.
in that line item, that could qualify for that line item.
Yeah, because the general fund is a crossover.
Yeah,
You know, you don't just say, we put $1,000 in the clubhouse, you can't spend one penny more than that.
yeah.
No, if you take it from the garden and put it in the clubhouse, it makes no difference, that's all one big pot.
right.
But
It's
the
just-
the
it's just-
reserve items are the separate ones. How much is in the reserve item now for the parking lot? What's the total?
Um,
Now that read about,
Well, I don't know what it is added, that particular line item, but your 2019,
there were two clubhouse lines.
your seal coating at the end of 2019 was 7,600. 76,62.
So I think we only paid about 12,000 the last time,
Mhm.
and we had to do
I think it was
drawings.
15.
Or maybe, yeah, we had to do drawings, we had to do stop signs, we had to do patching out on the little six-pack lots. So you might only be a couple thousand short of just blacktop and restriking it, depending on who you go to. I mean, you're close, you've got well more than half of what you need.
Well, the one thing we were gonna consider was, they have this rubberized, stuff that you fill in where the big, expansion joints or any of the big cracks and stuff were.
Uh-huh.
So that would give you more life out of your seal coating as well.
You know, we did that the time before last. And that was, do you remember the big war about all the little grit that everybody was tracking in? And for years we heard about the grit. That was after that application,
After the rubberizing.
after the
and
rubberized
cracks.
application.
Right.
And I don't really remember, did it extend it that much or not? Maybe it's a better product, maybe it's a different company. But we bought into that, yeah, we're gonna fill all the cracks, it's gonna look beautiful. And it really looked nice for the first 6 months.
Right.
And then all the cracks started to reappear. So whoever you're gonna go with, really do diligence and go talk to the people that they've done, like a couple years ago, and see if it's a better product.
Was that the parking lot lady?
No, it was Atlantic somebody, and he went out of business in between then and now.
Okay.
And we went out to some other
We
condo.
did, yeah, we did, and it
Out
looked
out
good.
west, and it,
Well,
it
we've
looked.
got, one of the proposals was from Atlantic Southern, and they're certainly not out of business. But they're one of the only ones that offers that. A lot of companies don't offer that.
I think if you look in the files, that might be the guy. Maybe. Atlantic sounds familiar, but
I mean, there may be another
I
company.
wouldn't
with-
swear to
with
it.
part of Atlantic's name, I don't know. I'm just.
Uh-huh. But anyway, we have heard about that product before too.
If you can get references and talk to
Definitely.
them.
Well, I mean, I've used him on other properties, and I've been very successful with it. So, but I don't know what you guys mean by granulated stuff that would come off.
Our membership
I
kept
kinda
telling
remember
us
this now.
that
It was like black sand.
ages
Yeah.
afterwards, it was like grit in the parking lot, and they were carrying it into their apartments and into the catwalk, and it was
In the
like,
way I kind of do remember this now, sorry. When you drove up, we all had lines.
yes, that too.
Right, going back and forth.
But even years later, there were people in the membership that were moaning about the grit that was coming off the parking lot and how we never should have done
I don't know if
that.
that's the same, I have to ask him, because I'm not an expert on that product.
I'm just saying.
It's just, I thought that it would, it's an option you guys can include
Oh, they can decide.
as a separate option. He was explaining to me, you'll get more light when it's a seal coat. have that particular thing done on other properties, but I had them do all this stuff. Yeah, so.
I would look at some, if you can, that are done, that he has done, and see if they are happy with it, because, you know, like I said, we went and we looked.
Well, if we were to ask him, give us places that you did 2 years ago and
Yeah.
3 years ago. And I want to go out to those parking lots and look at a job that I didn't do this year or last year,
Because
right?
I
I want to look at a
remember
job that you did 4 years ago.
I don't remember him saying when he did the place that we went out to see, but he had us out there and it looked really, really good. But again, it could have been 6 months old.
It could have
and
been
not
his
2 or 3
job, so
years.
point taken.
Exactly.
Yeah, understood. Under that recommendation, I believe we should table that, continue to look at that with more research.
I think so too.
I second.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay, good.
That,
Now are we done?
I don't know.
yeah, with that.
Let me just catch up here.
Okay. But Susan, is this the time that we would open,
I'm
or is
taking
it
it
after
out.
each thing that we talk about?
It's
Before you vote
technically
on
supposed
each
to be before
thing, you have a
vote.
discussion and then you vote. Then at the end, if you want to, you don't have to, but if you want to, open it up to the floor and ask if anybody's got any comments, questions, or
Okay.
suggestions, or.
Since we have a small group here, of lovely people and experience, I would like, I could open the floor up to any comments or suggestions to either of the Gambones.
Oh, goodness gracious. No, you did great. I mean, you were very good in your comeback. That was very good. I was telling Jane yesterday, you get an aggravating person and they go the same thing 10 times, you just go, thank you very much, next, and move on. Because you're never gonna win an argument like that. It's just not gonna happen.
Yep.
Point taken, as you said, and move on, no matter who it is. That was good. And my only thought about assessing, and I think what we learned in our years, think about what you want to do, put it all together, and come up with a number. Don't assess me now 500 for this, and then come back in December and tell me you need another 250, and then come back in February and tell me you need another
No, I mean,
150.
that only makes sense.
And then if it's a big number, like more than 500, you might consider doing 2 payments.
The split,
So that you're not killing people,
correct.
you know, and keep in mind and I'm sure Daryl will tell you, if you're gonna assess, you need a 2-week notice, hey, we're having a meeting to assess. Then you need to send a letter that says, hey, we did the meeting and we approved, and this is how much it's gonna be, and this is when we need it by. Remember
Yeah, the
to,
thing.
hang on one second, Daryl, post to Canada is like 2 weeks. So keep in
True, and I
mind.
know things are gonna, who knows. the
And maybe
timing.
longer. I mean, in
Yeah,
a good
I-
day, post to Canada was 2 weeks. So when you're thinking about when you need
We
that
should do a
money,
30-day window.
well, or 45.
45?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I mean, 2 weeks out,
Yeah,
they gotta look at it and go, oh yeah, there's a meeting. Then you have your meeting, then you send it to them. It takes 2 more weeks and you say, I need $1,000 by tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
That's not fair
Yeah,
either.
just, it's a
I mean,
pitfall
yeah.
that
That's really
I
good
like to do
points,
at least
Susan.
45 days.
Really good point.
And if you have other projects that you really feel passionate about, not necessarily just because it says it on the thing, the reserve study, but if you know, oh yeah, we need this, we need that. I mean, for 15,000, you might think about adding the laundry room windows. What are you gonna do if a hurricane comes along and blows through the 3rd floor, not laundry room, storage room, and takes the roof off? So great, you've got a perfectly
I didn't
sheltered.
even know there were windows in the.
Well, and you
Oh, I know.
have in the back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Your
You
dad's
got-
locker up there is a perfect example.
Right, you've got 6 more single windows up there. If a big wind comes in there and lifts that roof, it's not gonna matter that the clubhouse is in great shape, it's gonna lose the roof.
no, she said 3rd and 2nd.
Yeah, there's six altogether.
There's 6 over there and 2 over here.
So, I mean, not that I wanna add anything to the bill, believe
No,
me.
I understood.
But if you get a deal somehow, you know, or whatever, a throw-in kind of thing, then it might be something to consider.
Because the windows, like, well, the windows are, say the smaller ones in the kitchen, they're,
And now that we're off the record, if the inspector comes in and talks about the range hoods, because that's what he's gonna bitch about, show him that the electricity is cut off and we never allow anyone to cook in here. End of story.
Okay.
Because that's what we did. Every year the fire department came in to look, do their inspection. Major Payne, I love him, but would be like, what's with the range hoods? Like, no, look, they're disconnected here, they're not, you know, we don't use them, we don't allow anyone to cook in them. And that's that. I don't know how long it'll continue to save us.
Chris, you could close the meeting, and then we could tell you other things.
No, we're not gonna do that, no. You don't need to hear all the war stories, but that's just, again, something that we encountered with the permitting department. Because remember, we only painted the parking lot black and we had to put in all those stop signs.
Oh, I remember my mother.
And then the front parking lot old drawings had those angled spaces were head in.
Yeah,
And there were more because in 1977, the spaces were less than 8 feet and that was the code. Now they're 8 feet. So when they restriped it, I guess without a permit, or maybe it didn't matter back then, they made them angled. So the guy came in and said, well, this isn't on the plans, you need new plans. That was another $2,500 for plans. So,
So you guys have all those done already?
well, we have the newest set is probably from, I don't know, 5 years ago. When did we do the parking lot last? Yeah, maybe 5 years ago.
5, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have, so those are updated. But now, if you think about it, the stop sign going out the back parking lot got knocked down and never replaced. They're probably gonna moan about that.
It's
So
down the
just-
pit.
Just keep that in mind.
I forgot about that.
Ah, see, so.
I forgot, I'm sorry,
It's
it's already
far-
noticeable, but.
Yeah, it's far reaching, unfortunately, so.
But
While
these
I,
are the things we have to know.
while I agree with you that you can't close your eyes to stuff forever, because, you know, it'll just deteriorate.
like the elevators.
My thoughts, and I thought many people felt the same way, keep your money in your pocket till we need it. And then we ask you for it, and they never failed us in all the years that we asked for money, but it was for a block of stuff, you know. 2, 3 items, except for the roof, that was the one big one, the one that was just the roof. But everything else was, you know, some money for this, some money for that, some money for this, and we'll take it all at once or in 2 payments, and we never had anybody lag behind, so.
Well, that's good, because the other thing you have to be aware of, if you have, like, certain time you have to start paying vendors, like deposits or whatever, and things like that, or starting a project of whatever you're doing, you have to be able to have enough money in your pockets to start putting money out. So that's the only thing, and you don't wanna extend it out too far, you know, like 3 or 4 months or something or whatever, or longer, because then you won't get the money in and you'll have to be paying it out, you know what I mean? So, like the vendors or, you know, whatever you've already done, so. 'Cause I've had experience on both sides.
Well, with that, I am going to make a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:51 PM.
Yay, your first meeting